Hey all, welcome back to the Career Jigsaw podcast. I'm your host, Tony Volpicello, and in today's episode, we have another one-on-one interview, this time with a guest who came out of college, thought he knew what he wanted, but changed course multiple times. You're going to hear a story about following your passion, work-life balance, the value of the people around you, and taking calculated risks. You'll also hear him talk about having honest conversations with himself, realizing more than once that I don't love what I do, but also realizing that when you do love what you do, it isn't work anymore. So enough opening comments, let's get started. I've known today's guest for 30 years, and I've been looking forward to having him on the podcast. His name is Kris, a new small business owner with a story to share. He started on a pretty conventional career path, but as you'll soon hear, Kris made some unexpected decisions along the way. Hey, Kris, before we jump in, welcome to the podcast and tell our listeners a little bit more about you.
Thank you, Tony. Pleasure to be here. Love talking to you as always. So just to give a little background about myself, like you said, it was very conventional. I grew up on Long Island in New York, hanging around the island, doing the family thing there. Went to high school and had my plans set on going to college like everybody else. One thing I did that was a little different is I wanted to kind of escape the cold of New York, and during my college hunt, I ventured down into the Maryland area and discovered Salisbury University. Amazingly enough, there was a ton of people from my high school and the surrounding high schools that ended up going to that school. So going down there was a natural thing. It was a lot of familiar faces, a lot of New York and New Jersey people, so felt very comfortable and became like a second home. So I ended up staying here in Maryland, have lived here since 2000, I guess right around 2000 when I moved here to Annapolis, Maryland, the capital of Maryland. Beautiful town. It's right on the water here, so still get to feel the sense of home like I had back on Long Island with the water around, and a very big sailing town. A lot of naval academies here, a lot of great people. So I've really grown to love this town, and that's kind of where I settled and met my wife here. We've got married in 2010 after many years of dating, and we now have 3 children, ages 3, 8, and 11. And now we have a beautiful little home, great little family. Very, very happy where we are.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that and getting us started. I appreciate it. I'm going to rewind a little bit and just go back to your transition from high school to college. So you mentioned you went to college in Maryland. Kind of curious about that choice, other than climate change and switching things up a little bit. What was your deciding factor for the college you chose? And then I want to talk about what happened after college, but maybe you can start with just your college choice.
Sure. So like I said, the first thing I wanted to do was get out of the cold of New York. After many years of being up there, just was looking for a change, something a little different. And like I said, I had been recommended down to this area. So then when I got down here, Salisbury University was a 30-minute drive to the beach. It was a small campus, which was very crucial to my decisions. I didn't want one of these big schools where you were just somebody in the crowd. I like that it had a smaller student body. It had a small campus. I mean, I could walk from corner to corner on the campus in under 7 minutes. It just felt very relaxed, felt very comfortable. The people were friendly. The faculty I'd met when I had done tours was outstanding. And then lastly, I was planning on going to school for accounting, and they had a wonderful business school with a great accounting program. The Purdue Business School is what it's called. Worked very closely with Frank Purdue of Purdue Chicken. And a lot of people actually got jobs straight out of college working for Purdue in their accounting department because that was such a big company in the area. But the biggest factors were change of scenery, small campus, great accounting program. All those things came together when I visited, and it just felt comfortable. And that's why I decided to go down to Salisbury in Maryland.
Okay. So I think those choices are pretty relatable. So let's now talk about, you come out of college, you went for accounting. Walk us through what happened next and any decision-making you may have made along the way.
Yeah, so accounting was not exactly what I was hoping it was going to be. I was very good at math and growing up and good with numbers. And with accounting, I found you didn't really need those things. One of the accounting teachers actually told me one time, hey, we have calculators for that. So it was kind of fun to have to change my thought process about what it was. And it was a lot of theories and a lot of things, memorization and a lot of different things you had to learn to apply the numbers, but there was so much more to it. It was definitely what I wasn't expecting, but definitely was not boring either. My intentions were to go into work with the Internal Revenue Service. So wanted to stay on that path, but the path I was heading towards with the Internal Revenue Service was not just going to be your everyday accountant or your someone you're going to call to do your taxes. What my plan was to go to the criminal investigative division of the Internal Revenue Service. My mother had worked for them for many years. I'd met a lot of people, heard so many great stories. Just sounded like something that I was very interested in. It was going to be the numbers, the accounting part, but applying that to finding criminals and trying to do something good for the general public. And it just kind of makes you feel good when you think about those kind of things. So that was why I went there with the intention I had of going there. And that was where I was working on what I was working towards while I was in school.
So interesting spin, especially on trying to take accounting and making something maybe more interesting out of it, less about the numbers. I love just the criminal aspect of things. So what happened next?
So while I was in school, I had odd jobs here and there, most of them in the restaurant business or pizza delivery, even same kind of things I had done while I was in high school. And I graduated with an accounting degree and applied to the Internal Revenue Service. And nobody really explained to me that the process would take a little more than a year, almost a year and a half, to go through the entire process of getting hired in, because it was a high-level position. They do background checks. I mean, they talk to elementary school teachers, neighbors that I grew up with when I was younger, neighbors in college. It was a long process. So I continued working after college, working for Domino's Pizza, actually, and continued with that for as long as it took until I was offered a position with the Internal Revenue Service.
All right, so tell us more about the IRS and how you started, what role you went into, and where that led.
The IRS Criminal Investigative Division is completely different. Most people don't even know that they're there, what they do. They just think of normal, everyday IRS stuff. Oh, they're going to come and take something from your house. Well, the Criminal Investigative Division was completely different, where they really didn't come into play until somebody owed more than $80,000 worth of taxes. So we wouldn't go after your everyday person. We were going after people that were really pushing the boundaries and significantly cheating out the government on their taxes. Most of it, though, the fun parts, though, I thought were we really got involved with other agencies. We worked a lot with Secret Service, FBI, ATF, Customs. I mean, you name it. Anywhere there was money involved and potential tax fraud, we were involved. We were the money men. We assisted with a lot of different terrorist task force, things like that. So it definitely was interesting and definitely fun. But then there was the old school, after you get all the fun stuff done, you have to sit down and sit in a cubicle for 6 months and sort through all the paperwork and all the documentation you've recovered. And that's where I kind of started to lose some interest.
Okay, so what I've heard so far is early on, process took a little longer than you thought, so you still need to pay the bills and get a different job for the moment while the process ran its course over the next year and a half. And then it sounds like it kind of transitioned into, yeah, there was some exciting things along the way, but this wasn't exactly what I thought I signed up for. So now it sounds to me, and I don't know the story yet. I know where the story led, but I don't know the story yet. Sounds to me like you were at a crossroads. So talk to us more about where you were at and what decisions you made at that point.
Absolutely came to a crossroads. And like you said, it was just not exactly what I was expected it to be. I felt very muffled. I felt very controlled almost, where being a new agent, you seem to be treated, in my opinion, I'm not saying everybody did, but I felt like I was treated slightly different, even to where I would develop cases and they would get taken away from me for senior agents because of my inexperience. And it just was kind of demoralizing at some certain points. So when I started to realize I was not happy anymore, and I know being in the government, and that's what I thought my whole life was going to be great. I was going to get a great salary, great benefits, great retirements, plans that would be offered. I would have the ability to be retired by 54. These were all great things, but when I had to look back on it, I was like, am I going to make it that far? Is this something I really want to do? If I'm not happy now, what's going to change? When is it going to get better? How long do I have to wait? And the impact on my personal well-being was starting to be felt by others. So at that point, I realized, you know what, I don't love what I do, and I need to do something different. And that's when I decided it was time to move on from that career and the great potential that I had with that, even though I enjoyed certain aspects of it, that just in general, I was not happy. So had to look out for myself, had to look out for what was going to make me happy and move on to something else.
So where'd that lead? So I'm kind of curious now, because your story is starting to sound a bit more unique than the typical high school, college, come out of college, do something. Because where I think your story is unique, you had a goal going into college. Most of us, myself included, went to school, but really didn't know when I'm in school, what I'm going for and what I want to be when I grow up, when I come out of school. You went in and came out with a target. You know, it was the IRS and it was accounting. Again, most people don't have it that way, but where your story now takes the turn and is a bit more unique is it wasn't really what you thought it was going to be. And now you need to make this decision about, to your point, what's going to make me happy. So where'd that lead?
Well, you're exactly right. I had a goal. I had the goal in mind. I achieved the goal. And I feel like I was one of the few, especially going through college and early in life, that seemed to know what they wanted. As I got older, I realized I was just like everybody else, that I didn't know what I wanted, that perceived experience that I was going to have was not reality. And I needed to figure out my life. And I think that's when I realized, you know what, it was okay. I think I had that fear of not knowing what I wanted to do and didn't want to be one of those people when I was going through school. And I was wrong. I've realized now that it's okay not to know what you want to do, that you are going to have to try different things and do different things to find out where your passions are, where your enjoyment is going to come from. And you can't always base it off of what you think it is, or certain little things. Like, I mean, everybody wants money. Of course, we need money. But I've learned through this process that money isn't always everything. You can have all the money in the world, but if you're not happy, for me, that was the most important thing. So I think I knew what I wanted to do, but I realized knowing is not always the best thing. It's because it's not what your reality is can end up being very different. So I made a transition and I went back to, you know what I liked doing? I liked pizza. I liked being in a business where I had to deal with other people more often, not sitting in a cubicle, not doing something that was super repetitive and boring. The repetitive was fine, but I liked that there was engagement. I needed the engagement. I needed the social contact. I needed to be involved with people. So I went back to what I was doing and transitioned into Domino's Pizza again, what I was doing in college. And that's where I made the big choice to try something different, go back to what I enjoyed, and that's where I ended up, right at Domino's Pizza.
So how long did you do that, and where did that lead?
So I went to Domino's Pizza. This was my first foray into like a real corporate style restaurant. So I'd worked for like Red Robin in high school where I was like a busser, but had no real importance or power. And the impact of working for a corporation didn't really matter. But when I went into Domino's, I was going in and applied for and got hired by the actual corporation itself, not a franchisee, which they had, I don't recall how many locations, but like 700 corporate locations at that time. And we had a bunch here in Maryland. And they brought me on as a manager, as I did have experience from college and before, and that time after college when I continued to do that. They were very pleased with my abilities, as they didn't really have a general manager position open when they did hire me, but did not want to lose me because they saw the potential. So I kind of jumped around and helped some of the managers that were struggling in certain locations. They really liked that. They quickly gave me my own store, which was just a few miles from where I was living, which was fantastic. I did that for, I guess it was about 3 years, running my own store. Broke all kinds of records, received different rewards from them, and was offered the opportunity to go into a multi-unit position where I was going to be director of operations, overseeing 14 locations throughout Maryland, mostly in Baltimore City and Baltimore County and the surrounding areas. So I did that for another, I guess it was about 4.5 years.
So you've got 7-8 years under your belt with Domino's. Where did that lead?
Almost led me down the same exact path. I forgot that, you know what? Happiness. What do you enjoy? What makes you happy? And when I was running my own store, I was happy. I was making money. I was happy. I was doing well, was having the success. Taking on the director position just started to, again, start chipping away at my happiness. It was, 85, 90 hours a week on average was just driving me crazy. I had no friends, no family life, nothing that was enjoyable outside of work. While I did enjoy the work and I enjoyed the different people I had to engage with and developing other people into fantastic positions and teaching them how to be great leaders, I loved all that part of it, but I hated that was my entire life. I hated that I was taking away from other things that I enjoyed. I couldn't play golf. I couldn't go see friends. I couldn't go to baseball games. I didn't have time. I was on call basically 18 hours a day, making sure stuff was being taken care of at all times. Running Baltimore City, which was one of the probably most demanding ones, you're always worried. I had to worry about my drivers. I had to worry about my managers. People had gotten shot. People had gotten hurt and injured and attacked. And I'd have to be there for them. And it was draining, emotionally draining on all aspects. So again, I had to make that transition and think about it. Is this worth it? Was making great money, but was that what the life I wanted to continue to lead? So again, I had to take that step back and make another transition.
Well, I like that your defining moments, you continue to fall back on, what do I like to do? What am I passionate about? And it's really admirable, I think, that you're always trying to balance that with how is it affecting my personal life? So there is a work-home life balance. So again, Kris is at a crossroads. What happens next?
So then I was clueless. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I still liked the food business. I enjoyed the food business, and was suggested by a friend of mine to jump into the full service category. Go work at a restaurant. He's like, I do it. It's fun. It's enjoyable. You'll love it. I interviewed with, I think, about 11 different restaurants, from like Bob Evans, Olive Garden, Cracker Barrel, all these different ones. And it's like, this does not fit my personality. It does not fit me. I fine dining, not me. I don't like fine dining. It's too stiff. Wouldn't allow people to be themselves. Wouldn't allow them to be who they were. They had to be what the company wanted them to be. And then I finally landed an interview with a brand that everybody grew up with and knew, TGI Fridays. I met the director of operations who was hiring the managers at that time, down at one of the locations he was about to open. It was a new store. So that was encouraging, seeing that they were growing. They were still expanding, even though they'd been around for 40 years, that they were still growing their base. And lo and behold, the gentleman ends up being from Long Island, about 3 towns over from Smithtown. He was the straightest shooter, high energy, smart. I mean, all these things I could tell just in the interview that I was like, this is a person I want to work for. His passion, his dedication, he took me through his history of what he did to get where he is, his no nonsense kind of attitude, like, it's okay to fail, but don't lie to me. Don't tell me you did this. Don't tell me you did that. Just tell me what the problem is and I'm going to help you fix it. But that's how his leadership style was. And I loved it. It fit in with what I wanted to do. It put me in a restaurant that was not too highbrow. It was elevated bar food, basically. And I loved the bar atmosphere. The fun of the bar that would fill the entire restaurant was different than anywhere else I'd ever been. It was just almost like when I went to college. You went there, you saw it, you wanted to be a part of it. And that's when I decided, all right, I'm going to join this team. I'm going to join this TGI Fridays team. And I was truly nervous because I had never done anything like that before. But one of the things my friend pointed out to me that was in that business, he's like, it doesn't matter. You're a leader. You're a manager of people. It doesn't matter if you're working at a bank, working at a car wash, or working at a restaurant. They can teach you all the things you need to know about the restaurant, how to do things, how to make food, all the processes they probably have in place, especially at a corporate location. But they can't, the little abilities you have of leading people and teaching people and motivating people, that's what they're looking for. Stick to that. You can do it in any business. You're going to be fine. And it led to a 17 and a half year career.
It's so interesting what you've shared so far. And I've already heard kind of 3 lessons of advice for the audience. First, going back to college, hey, it's okay to not know what you want to be when you grow up. And it's okay even when you get out to try to still figure it out. Second, I think your most powerful one so far is just around making sure passion and what you like to do combined with work-home life balance is at the focal point of your decision-making. And then you just introduced a third one, which I think is really important, and I want our listeners to hear this. Because you had this decision of, I don't like what I'm doing anymore at Domino's. And then you interviewed 12, 13, 15 times. But what you didn't do is you didn't go after the first job. You didn't run away from Domino's as much as you chased what you wanted to do next. And I think that's a big difference. People sometimes quit their job and take the very first job offer they have, whether they really like it or not. You waited for the right restaurant that fit you and what you like to do. So it led to a 17-year run with some stability, learning a lot, growth, money in your pocket, providing for the family, which I think is a real powerful lesson for our audience. I want to talk more about your experience at Fridays and what it taught you. But is there anything you want to share about that 17 years before we kind of dive into lessons learned, et cetera?
That 17 years was amazing. And I think as it ended, it was sad. At the same time, I realized the growth that I had during that time and the people I engaged with and the people I met. And you go through, especially a company that's that large, you can meet so many great people. It was something that I never regretted, even though it didn't end how I wanted it to. But I'll never regret it. I'll never forget the memories I made. And I know in my heart, I made the right decision at that time. And going back to your point, I wasn't interviewing for a job. I was interviewing for a major part of my life. Mm-hmm. I mean, work is not something that you just do. It should be something you want to do. And when you enjoy what you do, it's not really work anymore. So when I was doing interviews, I was more interviewing them than they were interviewing me. And first of all, that makes an interview process completely different. You're more relaxed. You're less worried. You're not sitting there, are they going to hire me?
More confident too, right? I mean, you went in with a little bit of knowing what you wanted, to your point, you interviewing them. That does make your entire emotional makeup a bit different.
Absolutely. I mean, you are interviewing them. You want them to hire you, but you need to make them want you as well, which is where you got to answer the question to do all the basics of interviewing, like everything you do on your podcast to help people with this. But at the same time, you have to learn how to interview them. You have to interview the company you're going to work for. Is it going to be the right fit? take your time, find the right fit for you, not just the fit because they offered you a job. That's not always a good fit. That's just settling for something that's going to pay your bills, which everybody has to do. But if you take the time, find the right fit for you, it's going to make everything a little bit better.
Yeah, great advice. I totally agree. Let's talk a little bit to those out there who might be listening, who are in this industry now or want to go into this industry now. So it's customer facing, it's retail. It could, of course, be a challenge. What was the biggest challenge you had in that 17 years, and how did you handle it?
So I think there's different challenges. I mean, managing a chain restaurant, so working for a company, comes with a unique set of challenges. Some of the difficult aspects is that you really you lose your sense of creativity. And compared to like smaller restaurants, smaller places, you can really have a lot of control over the menu, the designs, the food, promotions that you're doing, the look of the interior, all those kind of things. But when you're working for a chain, you really have to be the same. I mean, the goal of a chain restaurant was to give a consistent and even experience, whether you were in New York, Florida, California, whatever it was. So there's a good thing to that, to where that does take something off your plate where you don't have to worry about that. But it also is something that you lose your sense of creativity and your ability to adapt. Of course, over time, it does change as they gain more trust in you. They do allow you to do a little bit more, and they start to take more suggestions from you on a corporate level. I was able to give ideas about promotions and menu changes and things like that. And I was listened to for a long time. So it was kind of nice to be able to build that trust with them. But that was definitely one of the challenges early on, was learning to just have to adapt to whatever it was they said, you had to do it. So learning to adapt and institute change in the restaurant whenever they would change something was definitely a challenge. Another thing that the biggest challenge is when you're in a company that large, the turnover in general. I mean, restaurant business in general has high turnover. You're constantly looking for new servers, new bartenders, new cooks, new everything in that kind of business. It's a known fact. You can mitigate it a little bit by really taking care of your staff, which I ended up doing for a long time, and take that off your plate when you do really well with it. But then there's things you can't control, like the people above me, the executive level, the marketing level, the accounting level, the directors of operations that are doing multi-unit. That changed a lot. And it took me a while to get used to that, because every time you had a new boss or a new CEO or a new CFO or any of those positions, they had their own way of doing things, and they would try to change things, and it was constantly adapting to the change again, but not changing really the experience as much as they were trying to get everybody to see their new vision. So that was definitely another big challenge in a company like that. They would change out quite a bit. I mean, in the last, I was a general manager for about 15 years, and I had more than 40 different directors of operations above me in those 15. So you're looking at sometimes 3 a year.
Wow.
Getting a new boss trying to tell you what to do, how to do it. And coming from other brands where I was like, well, that's not really how we do it here. So sometimes having to teach them how to do things the Fridays way and learning the way that our brand actually did things. So those were definitely some of the challenges coming in. The turnover on the store level, the turnover on the above level that you can control, just required a lot of adaptability, a lot of resilience, a lot of patience, and just over time learning to focus on what I can control. We had a lot of theories and a lot of things that we learned throughout our career with Fridays, and one of them was the 4 walls theory. Control what you can control inside those 4 walls, and take care of the people inside those 4 walls. You'll be successful. You can do what you can to stop the outside forces from impacting you. Sometimes they get through, sometimes they don't. But control what you can control, and you'll be successful, and you'll be much happier. And that's really how I learned to focus on what I needed to do and take care of my people, take care of my location, and just adapt to change and be resilient and patient, and everything would usually work out.
Really well said and great advice. I want to go back to what you said about maybe it being somewhat of a challenge to be consistent across the board. Now, some could look at that as being stifling and not being creative, but there's a pro to that too. I mean, that could be considered a con, but I think the pro is that takes all the guesswork out of you. And to your point, you're about execution and controlling what you can control. And when you get to that point of realizing that, it can be a lot of fun for you not to have the work on your back to create a marketing strategy, create a different dining experience, et cetera. So I love that point. And then when you started to talk about turnover, I thought for sure you were going to focus on those working for you and that challenge. And I want to hear more about that in a second. But what surprised me was the turnover above you. I wasn't expecting that. And that, to your point, is, again, a different thing to adapt to have a different boss every, 3 different bosses a year has to be a very unique challenge and something I think everyone out there has to think about in this industry, eyes wide open. How do you adapt to a different voice every 3, 4, 5 months? I'm kind of curious how you manage turnover of those working for you. If you had to nail it down to 1 or 2 key points of how you made sure you kept turnover to a minimum, what would it be?
So and trust me, there's many ways that people can do things, but I had narrowed it down and I had learned from a great mentor some of these tips and tricks, and I've taught them to numerous other managers throughout the years. So I wasn't always in the same location. A lot of times in the beginning, I was going to a location that was either understaffed, underperforming, had some troubles, and they looked to you to go in there and kind of fix it up. And the first time I did it, took me a little while. I learned my lessons, that the people were the difference. Took me a while to learn that. Didn't matter how your stations were set up, how quickly the food went out, what the drinks looked like. None of that really was as important as the people that were making the drinks, making the food, sending out the food, talking to my guests. It took me a little while to realize it, but after I figured that out the first time, I was like, okay, I got it. I know what I need to do. And then they moved me to another location that was a little bit of a challenge. So at that point, I went in, spent a little time just assessing the people that I saw. I didn't go in trying to do the little hatchet thing and just, no, let's get rid of all these people, start over. I had to reassess. First thing I would do was reassess the people. Do they have the ability? Do they want to be able to do better? And do I think that they can actually change how they do things to my style and what I want, what I expect them to do? So we would kind of reassess that and look at where our needs were. And I always would give people a chance. I give them the chance to prove that they can be a part of a great team. Didn't matter what you did before I got there, only mattered what you were going to do after. So once we identified the areas of opportunity, we would develop a plan to make sure that we were recruiting only the best and hiring only the best. A lot of times in restaurants, people do those hires just to fill a hole. They're just not good hires. I need a host, I need a server, I'm running short. Let's just bring this person in. And that can hurt you more than help you. Maybe a temporary short fix, but it might cause 2 or 3 other good people to leave if it's not a good fit. So focusing on the people and learning how to get the right people into the building. Next thing you had to do was make sure that training was set up. Give them the foundational basics to do the job that you're asking them to do. You can't fault people for doing it wrong when they never had the opportunity to do it right. So I made sure that was a key to what I needed to do. Find the best people in the building that can do the job well and teach them how to show somebody new how to do that as well. So it was finding the right people, making sure they had the ability to do the job by giving them every tool that they could possibly have. And then the third thing was culture. And I think culture is one of those things that it's thrown around a lot. It's hard to define. It's hard to understand. But in my mind, it was, you know what? I'm the leader, but I can't do it by myself. I need all the people in this building to be on the same page. So every time I went into a new store, I would do little monthly meetings. I would have a meeting set that was going to be led by an hourly employee that was not of the management team. We would invite all the people to the restaurant to come, and their They had the opportunity to voice their opinions. It would be completely anonymous. The person I had running it would just take notes and deliver it to the management team at a manager meeting. But they were not allowed to just come with complaints. It wasn't a chance for them to just complain. I don't like this. I don't like that. If they came to the meeting, they had to have a complaint and a suggestion for a resolution. We would combine that all into a list. And as long as it wasn't something that was brand damaging or something illegal, we would implement those types of changes and try them out. And then if they didn't work, we would see what happened, what didn't work, and make adjustments and continue to do that. So we would do those monthly. And you would notice the first time you do it, there's 20 people that show up. And then the second time you did it, you said they review what they did the previous one, what actions were taken. Did it benefit us? Did it not? Should we change it? They would review, bring any new issues to us. We would do it again. And then the third meeting, there'd be 3 or 4 people. And then by the 4th, 5th month, we would have nobody showing up anymore. People were happier. People had consistency in their life. They felt like they were being heard. And by actually implementing their ideas, like I said, it was anonymous. We didn't know who it was coming from. They felt that they were a part of that building, not just in the building working. They were a part of it. And I felt like those were the keys, were great hires, great people, making sure they have all the training necessary and all the tools and the chance to do a good job. And then making sure that their voice is heard to gain trust and give them the ability to be a part of the whole team.
Man, I love what you said, and you just recapped it better than I could, but it's such a recipe for success, and it clearly speaks volumes for why you had a 17-plus year run at Fridays. So I'm excited to get to what I've already nicknamed in my notes here as career part 3. So you had your run. Sounds like you had a great experience. You loved it. It worked out well for what it was, but something happened next. Tell us what happened next.
Yes. So, long run, long career. Even got the opportunity to be a multi-unit manager again, was provided all the training. Decided at that point, though, after seeing the numerous amount of people lose those jobs or leave those jobs or get burnt out, it's like, I don't want to do that again. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I love developing the people. I was bringing people up from server and host positions into general manager positions. It was rewarding, fun, made my money, was happy. But then it started to change. The company got bought by a new company. And the style and things that they started doing just gradually started to change. It became, I don't know, we were kind of family owned. It was a small family, a family that owned us, Carlson family, when I came into the company, and it felt like a family. They treated you like a family. They learned about you. They really were people oriented, which was the way I was. Like I said, it was the fit. And that was kind of why it was a family. When we got bought by an investment company, just over time, it started to deteriorate. Things weren't the same. Things were being done strictly financially and not really focused on the part of the business that was impacting that financial decision. So, for instance, with the old company, they would focus on, okay, what's the root problem? If, say, this dish is been getting bad reviews, well, is it the chicken? Is it the people making? Is it the recipe? Let's find out what the root cause of the problem is. And the new company would say, okay, we're just going to eliminate this and we're going to get rid of it. Well, if it was a dish that was around a long time, that customers that have been coming for many, many years that grew to love, they would be very upset. And we would have to deal with those kind of things on the forefront. And they never would have to deal with it. So they were really making decisions that were not really, in my mind, the Fridays way. And it just continued down from there. It started getting worse and worse. They were really starting to just hire anybody as managers. You saw a lot of the restaurants would just start having service issues and food issues, and when you have a brand, like we said, that's a chain that's trying to be consistent and deliver the same experience, and it's not anymore, really starts to hurt everybody. So it doesn't really matter what you're doing, you're building. They get a bad experience at another Fridays. They think it's Fridays. They don't think it's Annapolis Fridays or Riverhead Fridays. They think it's just the company in general doesn't know what they're doing, and really started having an impact on everybody. And then they started to get to the point where they were losing a little bit of money because of this drop in sales, drop in profitability, and they continued to make more decisions that disrupted the field and the restaurants out in the field, and they started to not pay bills. We weren't able to get anything fixed. They froze all raises. We even had delayed paychecks sometimes because they didn't have the money available. There was reductions in benefits. There was all kinds of things going on, and I could see it happening slowly. And I saw it a couple of years ago, and I wanted to get out. And a lot of people that I did know started getting out then before it got really bad. But I believed in the brand. I believed in the company I knew and loved, and I was still happy in my job. I was still happy with the people I had. I was still happy doing what I was doing. And yes, it was frustrating, but it was frustrating enough to where I could manage it. But then it continued to get worse. Then when you order food for a restaurant, for people that don't know, you order all your products, they come in, they get delivered. That's how restaurants survive. They have to have food to make food. And when they stopped delivering the food and told me, hey, just go to Sam's Club or just go to Restaurant Depot and go get it yourself and we'll just reimburse you. I was like, wait a second. You want me to start spending my own money to run this restaurant? I was like, is this my business or is it your business? And that was the final straw when I was like, okay, if I'm going to do something and it's going to be my own business and I have to run it like my own business, then why don't I just run my own business? And that was where I knew it was time.
All right, so we have to hear more about that now. But for the audience, again, I want you to hear what Kris said. It started with a culture change, which wasn't necessarily a good culture change. Sometimes culture change can be good. In this case, it wasn't what it used to be. So that started to affect how Kris felt about things. And then that led to what I just wrote down as you were talking, in my mind, a sinking ship. So Kris is now at this point where you can hear it in his voice. He wants to go out on his own, run his own business. So Kris, tell us about career part 3 and where that led.
Career part 3 was, I'm going to do what I need to do. I need to be on my own. I need to get away from letting everybody else make decisions. I wanted to get away from the restaurant business, though, a little bit as I've gotten a little older, a little slower. After many, many years of being on your feet and the physical challenges that come with the restaurant business and working in that industry in general, I was just a little tired. I didn't want to work till 2, 3, 4 in the morning anymore. So I had to figure out what was I going to do. Was I going to do my own restaurant, just have better hours? Was I going to do some other type of business? I didn't really know. So my wife's father, my father-in-law, and my brother-in-law both had started liquor stores. One during the pandemic, right before the pandemic they had started and became very successful, which led to them opening a second location. And both of them saying, it's like retirement for restaurant people, but you still can make money. So it intrigued me a bit. I wanted to know more. So in talking with them more and more, you still had the engagement with people. You still got to help people. You still got to deal with customers and have those social interactions that I craved. But I also didn't have to, I could make my own hours, be closing earlier, not have to deal with those things. It would be relaxed. It wouldn't be 110 degrees in the summertime in the kitchen helping on the grill. It was going to be a different lifestyle for sure, but it was something that excited me a little bit. I was like, oh, a little relaxed, a little fun still. I think I can be on board with this now that I'm approaching 50. I probably don't need to be working in these 110 degree kitchens and doing those types of things anymore. Let's do something a little more relaxed. And that's where it led to my decision to start my own business and open a liquor store. It's one of those businesses that, for the most part, are recession proof. I mean, everybody likes to get their alcohol. Even though there's times are changing and tastes are changing, there's still that opportunity there. So I felt like it was something that was going to be worthwhile, maybe not make me rich, but make me happy again. And learning to rely on myself rather than rely on other people making decisions for me after the experiences I'd had was something that I was looking forward to.
So you and I talked a few times during your planned exit of going from Fridays to trying to get this liquor store opened. So I'm curious, I don't know if you can pick one or not, but what was the biggest challenge in making that leap from managing the restaurant to now running your own business? I know it's still early, but I'm curious. Can you name one?
I mean, I can definitely name one. My reliance on the corporations that I work for never was revealed how much I relied on them, if that makes any sense. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was like, oh, I can run day-to-day businesses. I can run operations. I know how to take care of people. I know all these things. I've got an accounting background. This is going to be cake. Well, little did I think of, we used to have a huge legal department that took care of all those kind of things. Leases, lease agreements, negotiating leases, permitting, inspections, who to call, where to call. Oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. The process to get everything done, from getting everything permitted, getting all the licenses needed, to negotiating with the lease company, to you have to pick out the color of the walls and you have to give them dimensions of how you want the interior of the building to be redesigned to fit your needs when you don't even really know the needs yet. There was just so many things that I took for granted being on the corporate level that I didn't have to deal with. And I think we had mentioned it before, that it was something that was, maybe it was off my back and I just never thought of it. That all of a sudden it was right in front of my face that, oh my gosh, this is all me. I have to learn this. I have to figure it out. And it was very intimidating, very crazy for a while, but at the same time, I enjoyed it. It was a challenge, a new challenge, something I hadn't had in a long time, a challenge to learn something new, get something new done. And the challenge itself was exciting. Even though it was scary, it was exciting.
Yeah, I can see that logistics piece being, I didn't know what I didn't know, overwhelming. I think on the other side of it now, you can call it exciting. I'm not sure you would have called it exciting during the process. So I totally see that. And I want to talk more now about what maybe was lacking at Fridays in a chain restaurant versus where now you can maybe stretch a new muscle, and that's creativity. So at Fridays, you got to do it the Fridays way. Again, we talked about the goods and the bads of that. I know from talking to you that you're trying to put a different spin on a retail liquor store. So can you tell our audience a little bit more about what you're trying to create?
Absolutely. So, everybody thinks of their local liquor store. You can go in, grab your 30-pack of Coors Light, grab a couple of bottles of rum if you needed it for a little party, whatever it may be. Everybody's got their little stores, but we didn't just want to be your everyday little store. So our thought and our process was, let's lean into our background with restaurants and bartending and that type of industry. We had recently started a kind of a side business where we were doing event bartending. So we could lean into that a little bit, and let's develop a store that's going to be highly customer service oriented, which people aren't used to. Usually you walk into a liquor store and you're lucky if you're greeted. You walk around, you pick up bottles, you look around, find what you want, because you just end up getting the same old thing and you never waver because nobody's been able to suggest anything new to you. You get what you need and you leave. Well, my thought was, let's be overly friendly. Let's be super nice. Let's be the people that give them the experience that they would expect at like a restaurant. We're gonna hand sell things. We're gonna suggest new things to you. We're gonna make it creative. We also focused on more craft beer, different types of wines that maybe not everybody has. We're not going to have everything that your normal liquor store has. We are smaller. It's more like a boutique style, but we're going to have things that maybe you've never heard of and try to get you to find your new favorite. We say that all the time. Find your new favorite. Try something different. Experience something different. And then we also, our last piece of it was people get rum. They drink rum and Coke. People know how to make a Malibu Bay Breeze. They don't think about what they can actually do at home. And that's where we felt we could really up the ante a little bit more and be more focused on a home bar experience. Everybody loves going to a restaurant and getting great cocktails. They don't realize that they could do that at home. And we wanted to be able to show them and teach them and have that, give them that ability, give them the tools necessary, have ingredients that most liquor stores don't have to be able to provide quality restaurant style drinks at home without spending $15, $20 you might pay for one drink now. I mean, I can get you all the ingredients to make great cocktails at home, give you the recipes, tell you how to do it, provide all the ingredients, and you could do those for a group of people and spend a quarter of what you spend at a restaurant. So that was really our focus, was to be customer service oriented, provide an experience, not just a retail experience, an experience overall, and teach people they have the ability to do things great at home and bring back the home bar.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool that you're trying to move this concept of a liquor store from transactional, come in, take something off the shelf, walk out, maybe pay for it, to something more relationship oriented. I think you're onto something, and I've been along this journey with you, hearing about it every month as you've moved on, and I'm very excited about what you're setting up and what the future looks like. Let's talk a little bit about what you learned in the past, in your experience, mostly at Fridays, a little bit of Domino's, and how you're applying it. So I'm kind of curious, what did you learn as a restaurant manager that prepared you for now owning your own store?
I think the important things that I learned in being a restaurant manager was patience, trying to provide an experience to somebody is not always the easiest thing. So when you're in a restaurant, whether you're a server, bartender, manager, anything, you're trying to make sure that they have a great experience. And it taught me how to really learn about people's wants and desires, to be open to listening, to be open to patience, sit back and let people tell you what they want, learn from that, and provide what they want. One of the things we're doing in the rest that we took from that kind of experience at the restaurant to the liquor store is we said, hey, we've got great products. This is what we decided are going to be great products. We're putting it on the shelves. But we still want to grow that product level in our store to provide things that people want. So now 75% of what we bring in is suggestions by our customers. This is what you want, you should have it. So we're really doing things. And then when they come back in and they see it, they're like, oh my gosh, you listened, you got it. I was just saying I liked it. And we're like, yeah, you said you liked it, so we got it. And I think that's something that translates from the restaurant world, was really listening to the customers, finding out what they really truly desire, their needs, their wants, and being in tune with people is something that you learn in restaurants that maybe you don't always learn in retail, unless you're like trying to be a car salesman. You really have to learn those types of things as well. But not just selling them, but creating that experience, learning about what they want, what they really desire, and implementing those things. I mean, it's something that I took from the restaurants that I'm doing now. I mean, and it's creating that experience level that I don't think people are used to. And they commented on all the time when they leave. They're like, wow, this was awesome. I've never been in a liquor store for 25 minutes after I purchased something, just talking. And it's been great so far. It's rewarding, allows me to use a lot of the skills I acquired in the restaurant, developed in the restaurant, just applying it in a different scenario, but it's the same concept.
So I'm curious, being your own boss can be very exciting, but now that you're on your own, you have this benefit of hindsight. You can compare, what did you miss about working for a large company, but what's also one thing you never want to go back to in working for a large company versus being on your own? So what'd you miss about Fridays, and what do you never want to go back to?
That is definitely something I think about. One of the things I truly miss about Fridays and working for a large company is the people. There are a lot of people. I mean, I've worked with so many different people and throughout the years, helped to develop these people, still in touch with a lot of these people as they've gotten older, gone into their own careers. We would have conferences where I could meet people throughout the world. Fridays was in hundreds of countries throughout the world. I got to meet so many different people. I'm not going to have that opportunity anymore. So I really do miss that. Like I said, it was a family back when I started. For a long time, we were a big family. You met so many people. You stayed in touch with so many people. Everybody was always trying to help each other. It was just an environment that was so welcoming. And being able to just have those memories is great. And I will truly miss those. And I'm not going to say I can't make those kind of down the road at some point getting into this industry. There's lots of opportunities to meet new people and different types of events and things like that. But right now, as we're just starting this journey, that's something I'm really going to miss, and hopefully I can get that back at some point. But one thing I'll never remiss from being in a large company is the chaos, the constant chaos of something that large and that big. Like I told you, just the turnover and the changes and the change in direction that you would be given even on a sometime monthly basis. It was chaotic. And like I said, it was fun. It was always kept me thinking, always, even though the job was very repetitive and you are really just doing the same thing over and over. It never was the same from day to day. But I don't miss that. I don't miss the chaos of the unknown. What's going to happen today? What's going to be a new problem today, especially towards the end? It was, you wondered what was going to be the next big thing to happen, and who is it going to impact? How is it going to impact you? And just the wondering all the time of what was next was stressful and chaotic, and something I'm never going to miss.
Yeah, I relate to both of those answers, specifically the people piece. I retired a few years ago, and to this day, I still miss that interaction. You were there a long time. I was at my old company for 33 years, and those relationships I still try to carry on now, but the day-to-day interaction. I also worked in restaurants and bars, so I very much relate to what you were passionate about, because it felt the same way for me. So that's actually, in one way, why I started the podcast, was to engage people in a different way, although it's not the same. So I can see you kind of missing it. I'm sure you're going to channel it into the new store as you move forward. Hey, so I want to wrap up a bit here, but I have one last question for you, and then we'll go to some closing thoughts. You took a really big risk. You went from, although it may have been a sinking ship, you went from some stability in a company job, so to speak, to going out on your own. What advice do you have for someone who's thinking about the same thing, about leaving a steady job to start their own business?
My advice for anybody, if sinking ship or not, I was guaranteed a job. I was performing at such a high level compared to everybody else because of the sinking ship. I looked like I was a genius, and I wasn't even doing anything different anymore. My level was always increasing a little bit, and everybody else's level came down, and it made me look great. So I knew it wasn't going to be a great ride, but I could have stuck it out. So my advice to somebody is, you really got to assess your personal situation. Is it worth the emotional and physical stress to stay there and keep making your money? Or is it going to be worth it to leave? But on the second part of that, you also have to assess your financial risk. If you leave your job and don't have something set up, you're going to have to put money into an investment. You're going to have to get loans. You're going to have to put out a lot of money for inspections and bills and all these things before you even start making any money. Are you going to be able to do that? So you have to assess your current situation from an emotional, physical, financial standpoint, and really assess the risk that you're putting yourself in. I had thought about doing this a few years ago, and then was surprised by another pregnancy, and decided I had to look in the mirror and say, am I ready to do this? I was ready. Was it worth the emotional stressed to stay there? Probably not, because I had seen the writing on the wall a few years ago. But then I looked at the financial risk and I said, you know what? That's not responsible of me right now. I could bear the pain of staying in the job for right now to make sure that my family is going to be taken care of. But I always kept in the back of my mind that when it was the right time, I was going to get out and I was going to do what I wanted to do, but I had to make sure it was the right time. So assess your emotional and physical well-being, assess your financial risk, and just make sure it's the right time for you to do those things and be prepared for the journey to get through those tough times in the beginning, where hopefully it'll be a success, because for every successful entrepreneur and successful business that's out there, there's 92, 95 that didn't succeed. So, I mean, it's like a 5% success rate, and you see businesses close all the time. So you have to be prepared and be ready to do what's needed and be sustained until you can get to the point where you're going to be successful. It's a tough one. But I mean, there was some gentleman that I don't know who it was did tell me, something doesn't scare you and excite you at the same time, it's not worth doing.
Those words sound a little familiar, so thank you for the reference. I appreciate it. Hey, so you've been through career 1, career 2, and now on to career 3. Before we wrap, any closing thoughts?
I mean, my journey was really shaped by food and beverage. I mean, from when I was a child to being surrounded by awesome pizza places on Long Island, wanting to own my own pizza place and call it Schutz. Probably the dumbest name I've ever heard, but when you're 7 and 8 years old, dreaming of owning your own pizza place, that's the name you come up with. Just add Aureli's onto the end of it and it's great. But I never thought, like, going through life, that was really my dream from the beginning. And realizing that throughout my life and keep going back to the food and beverage, it really is very similar. I mean, creating dishes and creating recipes with food, or creating drinks and creating recipes, and all have those similar experiences. So I think it's all really relatable. But I learned I had to grow, adapt, and really think back to what was my dream and how my dream was going to become a reality. I mean, it's okay. Like I said, it's okay to be unsure of what you want to do. Through successes, setbacks, leaps of faith, you really become adaptable and you persevere and you learn how to chase what you want through self-reflection. And it's constant self-reflection. So my advice to others is really stay true to your passions, prepare for the unexpected, embrace the fear and excitement that comes with chasing your goals. Whether it's managing a restaurant, starting a business, the key is learning to build trust and empower others. Never stop learning, and make sure it's a journey that's worth taking. If it's your dream, it's worth it. Go follow it. Go do what you have to do to get there. Just make sure you're ready for it, because it's a fun ride, but it's scary.
Well, I admire your passion, your process, and your risk-taking along the way. Hey, I think we would be remiss in our duties if we didn't give you a chance to plug the new store. So you want to talk just about the store, where it is, a website? Your time to shine. What do you want to plug about the store?
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. The Spirit Shop of Annapolis is the name of our store. We're located in the capital of Maryland, in Annapolis, Maryland, right on Riva Road. That's RIVA, but you can find all that information on our website. It's spiritshopannapolis.com. You can also follow us on Facebook. We'll have recipes. We have different things that we put out there every once in a while, recaps about tastings that we may have done. So even if you're not in the area, we're still going to provide some great information to you, whether it's hard to find bourbons that we recently tried or learned about, or cocktails for summertime coming up. You want to host a party, we'll have those things out there. And I would love for anybody and everybody to visit and learn, whether you're a customer or not. Like I said, we're providing an experience. We're providing a service to people. And I think I would love for anybody to learn from it and engage with it, ask questions. And then when you're in town, come visit us. We would love to have you in and show you what we're all about.
Awesome. Great way to close. Kris, I wish you nothing but success, and I really appreciate your time on the podcast today. Thanks so much, buddy.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. Good luck to you too.
Episode number 25 of the Career Jigsaw podcast is in the books, a milestone. And as always, thank you for your support. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please hit that follow button so new listeners can discover us. And remember, if you don't do what you love, try to find love in what you do. I'm Tony Volpicello, and I am out of here. Thanks all. Be safe.